Okay. So, Prayag, thank you so much. Thank you for joining this talk show, which is Extreme Gratitude. And let me thank you once again, especially, you are interested in this particular, a unique topic, as I just said, uh, which is very unique. And, I really appreciate that. And why I thank you is for you, you are literally available for this conversation. And in fact, on the first chat also, you were quite open to discuss on all these topics which you are aware of, right? So again, I welcome you on this talk show.
Thank you for having me. I love to have conversations. That is what I abide for. Even when I'm sitting, when I go to places and everything, if I can have a coffee discussion with anyone, who is just
Mm-hmm.
open for discussions on any topic, you know, on any walks of life, I love to have conversations. That is something that I literally love a lot. Yeah.
Great, great. Okay. So, Prag, I would start asking questions very basic, which you can, because for me and for audience, I think this is a little bit different topic, and we all may not be aware of, what you know. So, what is astrophysics? You could say in a very simple word. Yeah.
So astrophysics as a field, so there are lots of fields. There's astronomy, there's cosmology, there is physics and everything, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you study the physics of astronomy,
Okay.
okay, you think of it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Have astronomy, what is astronomy first? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
study of the universe, or you could say the objects in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever
Mm-hmm.
thing present in astronomy, as in you could say celestial objects, sun, stars, moons, galaxies, right? The
Mm-hmm.
study of them, we usually classify it in astronomy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you want to understand the physics behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I
Mm-hmm.
want to understand how gravity works, and if I go dive into Einstein's general theory of relativity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could come into astrophysics. If I want to understand how a star dies and the life processes involved behind that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's
Mm-hmm.
the physics behind that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fall under astrophysics, right? So it is
Okay.
basically, a mixture or a combination of both of these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun topic. You need physics, and obviously astronomy is always there. So whenever in colleges, whenever you have these colleges offering these courses, this is
Mm-hmm.
the semesters usually, right? First you
Mm-hmm.
have astronomy, then you have physics, and then it is usually mixed by the end. So yeah,
Okay.
overall, this is at the conclusion what astrophysics is.
Okay. Cool. Cool. What is that one or two things that you most like about astrophysics?
One or two things. So to be very honest, astrophysics, it has fascinated me ever since I would say, in my eighth grade. Right, I was not a very big kid. I was in eighth grade. Teenage years. All those other things were happening. It happens with your mind. But there
Mm-hmm.
was this one thing that constantly fascinated me. Right, I was making sense of the world, as everyone does that. In
Mm-hmm.
their whenever they are growing up, they want to make sense of the world around them. And
Mm-hmm.
then I saw this, Carl Sagan Cosmos. So there is this
Mm-hmm.
series of Carl Sagan Cosmos. And
Mm-hmm.
then I saw that and I was like, damn, that looks good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying, he was talking about stars, and he was talking that these stars are this, that, and these stars are born and they die. And I was like, I see them in my night sky. They're
Mm-hmm.
born, and these stars die. How does that happen? And there is just some process involved behind them, and they form black holes and whatnot. And I was like fascinated, and I wanted to learn more about it, right? So astronomy or astrophysics, whatever you want to call it, this as a field has a great fascination for me. The
Mm-hmm.
reason is it answers the biggest questions or the biggest mysteries of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No matter what you are, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what kind of person you are, what you believe in, what are your thoughts, what are your beliefs, you
Mm-hmm.
always existential crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
there is this term existentialism, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have this yearning to understand what we came from, what will happen in the future, and all those kinds of things. Are
Mm-hmm.
we on a giant rock floating in space and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So astrophysics answers this question, or tries to answer this question at its best, based upon the
Mm-hmm.
understanding of us, what kind
Mm-hmm.
of understanding we have of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It tries to answer these questions, and I love that, right?
Mm-hmm.
As of now, I know answers to a lot more questions than I would have when I was back, when I started in astronomy or astrophysics, right? When I
Mm-hmm.
first started. So I can answer a lot of questions, a lot of mysteries that are always there, right? And Netflix enabled that for me, right?
Okay.
Understand
Okay.
how things are going in the background. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the biggest thing that I love about this field. Yeah.
Okay. So now I'll start going a little bit deep into whatever you answered. Okay. So, so my direct question, Prag, why do we exist? I mean, have you ever thought about this? Have you tried to explore these things in terms of astrophysics, astronomy, or why do we exist? Or you can answer in your terms also. Uh, I know this question probably doesn't match directly with what you have.
I'll have to make up my mind first of all. Like, it's a big question. It's a huge,
Mm-hmm.
at a macro level, why do we exist?
Mm-hmm.
So I usually think that life on Earth, usually, and the life as we know it, is the universe way of understanding itself. Why do I call it? I'll just let you know. It's universe's own way of understanding itself. The reason I say is life is very fine-tuned on Earth as we know. There are a lot of factors that could have gone wrong. Even one factor, I could just talk about. Let's take the example of God particle, right? You might have heard about God particle, Higgs boson, right? And how it is fixed into entirety of space, and it
For
does some.
for audience, you'll have to explain what is God
Yeah,
particle.
I'll just explain God particle. So it's Higgs boson. It was a particle which was predicted back in the 1900s by Peter Higgs. And in 2012 only, scientists at CERN were able to detect it. So basically, God particle is what gives mass to you. All of us have mass, right? How do you think we get that mass? God particle gives us that mass, or Higgs boson is responsible for giving us that mass, right? Because of it, there would be no such thing as mass, right? Mass is gravity, and all those things exist just because of that, right? At the same time, Higgs boson is frozen into the space. Early in the universe, when the universe was very hot, Higgs boson was going and all those things, it cooled down over a period of time, over billions of years. Today, Higgs boson is frozen everywhere. It's frozen, and that helps us. You know why? Because electrons, they would be traveling at the speed of light. And if they're traveling at speed of light, that would not be good for us, right? You all know photons travel at speed of light. Electrons can also travel at speed of light. But imagine if electrons in your body start traveling at the speed of light, what's going to happen? The what Thanos did, just like this, we'll all be dispersed, right? Higgs boson, what happens is these electrons collide with Higgs boson, they lose their speed, and they give form to matter. That is how basically matter can exist, or mass can exist here, right? So this fine tuning of Higgs boson, okay, fine tuning of many other things, many other characteristics in this universe. I could just write down. They're so picture perfect. For life to exist on Earth and all those things that happened, right? Because of that, I think it is universe's own way of understanding itself. Now this question transcends philosophy, right? It includes philosophy, theology, science, all those kinds of things, right? From a scientific point of view, what I think is universe started 13.8 billion years ago, right? It started after the basically after the Big Bang theory. Okay, what happened after the Big Bang? Started 13.8 billion years ago. There was this solar system that formed, the sun was formed, the planets were formed. Fortunately, we were in the Goldilocks zone, or the habitable zone around. That is, it's neither too hot, it's neither too cold, and conditions for life can exist, right? Conditions for life on Earth were able to exist. There was different circumstances that happened, and that is how we see life existing here, right? That is one argument for life. But why do we exist? You could just say we were lucky. You could, at the same time, and I'm just answering this from our perspective, right? I'm into philosophy and all those things. You could say we were just lucky. Or you could say that, it was fine-tuned for us to exist. Whatever you want to take away from it, right? It's an open-ended question, right? That is how I like to think about it. And obviously, I have not made my own conclusion. I open-ended, so there is this sense of satisfaction inside me.
Absolutely. No, I mean, good to have this kind of totally different perception. I would call it a different perception, right? Of course, it has the science behind this. Now again, a little bit more difficult question. How do we put God uh, in this formula?
So
Like,
like,
hmm,
like I told you, so some people think about this, and I've
hmm,
seen this in, whenever something, if someone is getting into science and physics and everyone,
hmm,
usually wherever they were born, wherever they were born, there was this sense of religion that was put inside, right? There was
hmm,
this sense of religion and this sense of belief and this God, that God, whatever God that may be, was
hmm,
put inside, right?
hmm,
And you have been there for 12 years, 15 years, whatever,
hmm,
once you start exploring that
hmm,
happens. You have been there in those
hmm,
some
hmm,
depends on the parents also how much religious they are. And then you try to explore the other world, right? You want to explore, you want to know the answers, don't want to believe just whatever. Many people just believe whatever is told to them, many do not, right? And those few people who definitely do not believe and want to explore and go out, they to usually do big things. Usually we see that in life, right? You want to understand everything, get to the basics of it, like Feynman calls it, go to the first principles, understand everything from the basics. It's very hard for everyone who comes into science to make sense of them, because they're learning this. Like, there are these laws of nature that I could write down on a piece of paper, and the universe obeys that laws. Whether I go, to any exoplanet or I go to any alien world, whatever you want to think, those laws of physics or laws of nature will remain the same. Okay, the
hmm,
universe will behave, everything will follow that law, those laws of nature. They exist here also, right? That is all there. But at the same time, there are things that we cannot explain, right?
hmm,
Things
hmm,
that are beyond science as of now. But you could say that in the future we could explain them. But as of now, we cannot explain them, right?
hmm,
Like I told you, those fine tuning. Remember, I
hmm,
told you that
yeah,
many things
yeah,
are there, like
right,
dark matter, dark energy,
right,
Higgs boson. All of these are fine tuning of the universe. Okay,
right,
anything that could go wrong. There is this certain thing as dark matter, a dark energy. I could explain it later.
hmm,
But if
hmm,
dark energy
hmm,
was just a bit more or just a bit less,
hmm,
universe would not exist as of now as we know it. A lot of things would be
hmm,
there, we would not exist, right?
hmm,
So because of that fine tuning, many people believe that there is this existence of God. Okay,
hmm,
many people call it, just not coincidence. It is just how universe it is. How it is just how the universe is, and
hmm,
we're so, we're so since our birth we have been made to see these things.
hmm,
That when you see something fine tuned or something good, you say, okay, this might be God. God might have made it for us, and everything, right?
hmm,
And I do not try to answer these questions. Like, I do not want try to indulge into
hmm,
conversations of God.
hmm.
Personally, I have not made my mind about it. Right?
Okay, okay.
Only about the kind of things that I see and whatever I have seen in my life, I do not try to reach conclusions. Right?
Hmm, hmm,
Like, keep it open ended.
hmm,
But God is just something, that people try to figure out in their life and they try to understand. Scientists usually when they grow up, you see the PhD scholars and the Nobel laureates, they
hmm,
move the concept of God. They do not follow
hmm,
until
hmm, hmm, hmm.
okay, because then they try to follow maths and they try to follow reason and everything, right?
Right.
In that time, they totally get distant from the concept of God. Okay,
Right.
it has to do with other factors also, but again, it could be a 2 hour conversation.
Hmm.
Just this topic. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Thanks. I mean that helps again. See what I have understood, or probably what I know from different books or from YouTube and all, that we all are made up of the same energy, the energy that you have, that I have, or the Mount Everest has, or probably some remote animal somewhere in forest, right? Or so basically everything is made up of same energy. Is it right? I mean, we are
Yes.
so much. Yeah. Mm.
I would not use that word. Like, energy is a very, vague term to define that. You could say all of us are made of matter. That would be a very good term to say. All
Made
of
up of
matter.
matter. Okay.
Everything is matter. It is made of
Yeah.
electrons and
Right.
neutrons, made of it, and I'm made of it, right?
Right.
That would be a very good term to use. Energy is
Okay.
very in this respect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So, and when you use the word fine tune, so you are trying to say that when the universe evolved, and the Earth and all the planets were made up, they were created in such a way that because of that fine tune or that perfection, we all exist. Otherwise, if there would some be, like either other, there would be some different scenario here. Is it?
Yeah, for life on Earth, there is a lot of fine tuning, right? You do not find life on Mars. You know why? Mars had water, billions of
Hmm.
there was
Hmm.
Mars, but then what happened is Mars does not have enough gravity. Think about it. Mars does not have enough gravity, and Mars had an atmosphere also. But because it didn't have enough gravity, it was not able to hold its own atmosphere. Earth is able to hold its own atmosphere. That is why we all know how atmosphere is important for life, right? All the gas and everything, they exist just because of this atmosphere. Earth is able to hold that. Mars, because it does not have a lot of mass, was not able to hold it. Water was gone. Water is frozen on Mars now, and it has become a dead planet. It could have
Hmm.
had it could
Hmm.
have had the conditions for life to exist, but you
Hmm.
see this very small thing, right?
Hmm.
Just like this, there are various factors, right, that determine how life could exist. And for us,
Hmm.
everything all fell into right place. But then again,
Hmm.
there is this another version to look at it, right?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
might be biased. It might be that we need oxygen here to live. There might be another world, and an exoplanet. There are trillions and trillions and trillions of them. The organism would need methane or any other gas like sulfur to survive. Their body would have adapted to, or their body would need something like that, right?
Hmm.
Or we're just thinking of ourselves as lucky, but it
Hmm.
might be not as lucky as we think. It's just
Hmm.
as it is, right?
Hmm.
It's how
Hmm.
are laid out in front of you, right?
Hmm.
Are making that we got lucky and this is very good and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Fine tuning has been there in a lot of other terms based upon the percentage of dark matter, dark energy, a whole lot of other things. They are
Hmm.
definitely fine tuning.
Okay. Okay. And my next question is about thoughts. So like some scientists say that thought is also made up of that energy, or when I say energy, please understand it from
It is
your
impulses in our brains, yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could I mean, this is so fascinating because like if you could explain uh, the creation of thought, and in terms of astrophysics and all. Plus, how do we, if we know the basics of astronomy, astrophysics, and whatever you are studying, how can we make our life better? What is it that this science is teaching us?
Okay. Two very good questions. Let's
Yeah,
start with the thought,
yeah,
and then second question would be
sure,
another thing to answer. Okay.
sure. Mm.
So if you just think about it as
Mm-hmm.
of uh, thoughts, right? How do thoughts originate? So they originate in our brains. These are just chemical signatures that happen in our mind, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Thought as we know it, they're not totally understood. It's a very complex phenomena, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
biology and researchers cannot explain it as of now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
someone asks you, what is the biggest mystery in this universe? What are you going to say? We usually say our brain.
Mm-hmm.
What is the biggest mystery in this universe?
Mm-hmm.
It's the brain, right? We have tried
Mm-hmm.
to map all the 80 billion, 90 million neurons that are there. We have not been able to,
Mm-hmm.
map them and understand each and everything, right? The biggest
Mm-hmm.
mystery is the brain. How does this work? And
Mm-hmm.
whenever there's this concept of consciousness, right, and thoughts and all those things, I look at it from a physics perspective, right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
all made up of electrons, right? We're all
Mm-hmm.
electrons, protons, and protons, and this living thing is also made up of electron, proton, and neutron. This mic in front of me, this laptop, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's the difference? Why doesn't it have life, right? Why is it not able to think of something? Why is it not thinking about the greatest mysteries of the universe? But the same electrons, protons, and neutrons, they're inside you, and they're able to figure out a lot of things. You're able to behave, and you are
Think, feel, and yeah, yeah, yeah.
what is the difference? What causes that difference? Is that rock thinking about universe? Maybe it is, by the way, right?
Mm,
We know of it, but
mm,
is that rock? We not think so, right? So what is that difference that is causing, right? And whenever you think of these thought, a thought, how does it arise? In our brain, How are the cognitive processes that happening in our brain, that give birth to any random thought. They just come and they just go. You can just live inside them. That could be a whole entire reality for you, right? These are very complex. So today biology is also not able to understand it, right? And if you look at it from a scientific perspective, people say thoughts, they arise from the activity of neurons. Like biologically, if you just think of it, like I've delved into this also, so I know a little bit about this. So if is in biology and they ask you this, and if you ask them this question, how do thoughts arrive? They could just say it's just an activity of neurons, right? This is how does the nerve cells in the brain interact, and they communicate through these connections. They call it synapses. I don't know if I'm not. One neuron fires, right? Firing and all these things, right? So because of these electrical signals that one neuron is sending to the other neuron, and it is triggering a chain reaction, that is what gives birth to a thought, right? Or that is how we usually think of thought. Okay, but how does it originates in the first place, and all those things beyond my understanding. Many people are still trying to figure it out. Yes.
Okay. And my next question was, I think it probably, answers a little bit whatever you said. I got a little bit of that answer, but again, knowing all this knowledge from scientific point of view, how it helps a human being. So can we understand it that, no, I would not attempt. I mean, I would let you all answer. So, yeah.
So basically, how does science, helps human beings, or any other thing? If you just think about it, like it helps animals also, right? We help them. So it plays a very important role. We were early human beings, all of us. We have anything, right? Early they were hunter-gatherers and everything, and then there was this big revolution, right? There was this big revolution of language that happened. People started speaking, right? Started living together because of that, because they were able to communicate with each other, right? There was another revolution, that was the agriculture revolution, right? When human beings learned that they could build things, or they could cook things, they could grow things, and they could eat it. They don't have to be hunter-gatherers for life. They have to move from one place to other, and they settled down, right? And then from there on, there was this another big revolution of industrial revolution, right? But industrial revolution was very different from all the other revolutions that we witnessed. Okay, we have been here for 250,000 or 3 lakh years, but whatever we have done, if you just put it in a page of 1,000 book, the 3 lakh years are a page of 1,000 book. Until the end of the 999 page, we were not doing anything. We were not doing anything significant, right? And the last paragraph, even if you could go of that page, that is where the last 300, 400 years only, good things started for us. Technology came into our life. We were able to understand. We could automate things. We could build things. Okay. Technology was there before also. You would see these catapults used to siege and all those things. That was very basic, right? People delved into science. Okay, they started understanding, and they had this curiosity to know what this is made up of, what that is made up of, what this is made up of, right? And they started learning about this. I can give you a very good example, right? Sitting here, think about how you are able to see, right? The basic principle of light. Just think, let's think about it. How you are able to see me, right? Light is it is hitting me, it is getting reflected, it is hitting your eyes, and inverted image that is formed in the back of your brain. This is a whole lot of processes are happening. You do not realize, but let's just say you understand it now. When a person realizes, okay, this is how things are happening. Imagine scientists who discovered these things. And when other people, today we understand, we just sit here, I'm opening one app, Zomato, okay, I want to order one food. I'll just say, okay, I'm ordering on Zomato and everything, and that is arriving in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever I want. It looks pretty easy, right? But it is not. Just imagine the entire effort that has been put behind that. not by one, not by two, but entire human civilization in the last 300, 400, even before all the humans this is a collective effort, right? You have to have electricity, those electric grids and everything. You have to have the power supply, you have to have the, the supply chain, you need a server, you need all kinds of things. This is not one person controlling it. These are thousands and thousands and thousands of persons, lakhs of people who have built this. This is not an easy feat to achieve, right, for humanity. But we have done. How? Through science and through these technological advances only. We were able to understand how we can grow food, how we could produce energy. For understanding this, we needed science. Science gives us tools, which we could implement. It answers the question and everything, right? It is fascinating. You understand how light works, but you say, "मैं क्या करूँ? मैं क्या job छोड़ दूँ?" Like there is this joke that goes around. Universe is so big, but okay, that is fascinating. Give you tools. It gives you the tools, right? I use this mic, I use this phone, I use that, everything. Science is giving me that tool, right? And so it gives you everything. It gives you an understanding. It provides you with specific tools or models which you could use, and you could achieve results whatever you want. Today, a human being does not have to worry about eating food. Usually, I'm talking about most of the world, right? You don't have to worry about eating food. You don't have to go into the jungle and hunt for it, right? You could get it easily. Go into supermarket. So much food is there. It's getting wasted, right? All those things. So that is how science basically helps us. All kinds of education, economics, and all those things. Yeah.
Right. And can we say that, I'm talking about again, that matter part, and how we are made up of. So we can say we are again made up of that matter plus that soul. Like you and I, we are living, but this laptop is not, right? So we all are made up of that same thing, but we as a human being have that some extra part which is soul or spirit. That's it, right?
Okay, so I said, I'm someone who has delved into this, and I do not believe there is anything as such soul.
Okay.
Right? Now, because you might say that I come from a very religious family and all those kinds of things and everything, but I have explored this on my own, and I try to understand things on my own, and there is this no such thing as soul. What I mean by that is, think about it. Whatever is happening in your body, it is your mind that is tuned, right? Now, your mind, that like I told you, the biggest mystery in the universe. Something is happening inside it, and something is coming out. You're able to imagine realities. You're able to understand the world. There's this entire reality that you see, which might not be true also, right? We could all be part of a game, a simulation game that we are living in. We do not know for now, right? But our mind, whatever we see and whatever we perceive, our mind enables that, right? And that is the reality that we believe. That could be very different. You could see it in your life. One reality for you is different for others. You see this religious people fighting for it, political people fighting for it, because the realities are different. And what gives birth to that reality? Your brain gives that birth to that reality. Okay. Otherwise, all of us would be thinking the same thing, right? Soul as a concept, I do not think that something like that exists, because something has to be detected to know that it exists. You could say it's a hypothesis that it might exist, but I don't understand. It's very vague. The entire concept of soul is very vague, right? Whenever you tell something that this exists and this has to exist, we usually say that these things have to happen. This is how you could detect it. This is where you could get it. But you do not understand anything about soul. Soul is very vague, right? In all mythologies and in all histories, in all religions and everything, it's a very vague concept for me personally. So I do not think that we have anything as a soul, because our body just it dies.
Okay.
There is nothing after that.
Okay. And so I really like this conversation, because I'm I believe in spirituality and soul concept.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
don't. It is just like we are brainstorming. Okay, so don't take it in other
Absolutely.
way.
I come from a very religious family. I'm Brahmin and everything, so I'm a very I've come from a very religious family, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I have been there. Yes.
Yes. So don't you think that like we exist or whatever is happening and how the whole world is managed by, don't you think it is controlled or probably managed by God or that superpower? Or do you think that God or superpower is equal to the universe? So, what I call God in your terms, you are saying the same entity as a universe. Is it the same thing?
It's not the same thing. Universe is something that exists, as in, it started from one point and it is everything, and everything is contained
Hmm.
inside this, galaxies and everything, planets. We are inside the universe, right?
Hmm.
God as a concept, whenever you understand this, that someone who has made the universe, you
Hmm.
understand there's a distinction.
Hmm.
Universe is
Hmm.
created. God usually is someone who has made the universe, right?
Right. Right.
So if you think about it, and if I think about it, concept of that God controls everything, like it's back to the same example. Many people believe it is fine tuned. Many people do not. They think that the universe exists as it is, right? Our mind is made to realize patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is trained in such a way that we realize patterns. We love
Hmm.
symmetry. Think about it. We love
Mm-hmm.
little things. There is this something known as golden ratio. I don't know whether you've heard about it or not. There is
Mm-hmm.
something known as golden ratio that is there. And whenever we see things in golden ratio, we love that. So all the advertisements that you see in your life, all the banners, all the posts, and all beautiful people and smart people, they follow the golden ratio. There is such thing as a golden mathematical. This is entirely a mathematical concept. Okay, it's just a ratio. It could be my height and this space. You could just divide it, and if it follows in that ratio, right, we call it the golden ratio, right? And whenever we see things falling in that golden ratio, we see, okay, how good is it? All the advertisements of inside the world, the golden ratio, I think it is 1.6 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
take the length and width of my face and divide it, if it is 1.6, usually I will be destined to have an attractive face. That is there
Mm-hmm.
always. All the
Mm-hmm.
advertisements that you see follow this pattern only 1.6, right? So this golden ratio, our brain loves patterns. Our brain
Okay.
loves simple.
So Parag, you are trying to say that because we like to think in terms of patterns, and that's why I probably said that, okay, by for all these years, me and everyone has seen that, okay, we are so much, the universe is so organized that we continue to exist, we live, but it is again our definition that, okay, everything is organized. Is it
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes in the next 1,000 years, there might be another life form that might contact us, and they might have a totally entire different thinking, right? And they might tell us something about this universe and how that exists, right? But we
Hmm.
do not know as of now. And there is this another subtle concept that I would like to mention, right? Uh, Coming back to the revolution thing, there was this language evolution that happened. All of us know
Hmm.
about it. So language evolution had a barrier, right? We usually say
Hmm.
140 or 150 people.
Hmm.
A community bigger than that was not able to exist because they would fight among themselves and all those kinds of things would happen, right? There was always this. So human beings, whenever they discovered language and all those things, they were not able to exist in bigger communities, right? But how do you think we see millions of city people in a city and everything? That is when there is this concept of shared reality came in. Okay, and this is a
Hmm.
very interesting concept, and this fascinates me, right? There is this book Sapiens. I don't know whether you've heard about it or not.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right? People realize this, that they need to agree on things. They need
Hmm.
to agree on a story, right?
Right.
They need
Right.
to agree on a story. They need to agree on a reality that they could call a reality, whether it's reality or not. They need to agree on a
Hmm.
story. Take the example of dollar.
Hmm.
There is international trade that is happening on this basis, on this trust of something, a fictional entity, dollar.
Hmm.
There is no such thing as dollar that exists, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
There is
Correct.
this thing that is happening
Hmm.
based on fictional entity, right? In just the same way, human beings realize that they need to have stories, they need to have these realities that they could
Hmm.
share with each other, that could unite people.
Right.
Now, this is I'm answering from a whole scientific perspective, and
Right.
nobody
Right. Right.
no one should be offended because of this. Think about it. The
Right.
concept of what a nation is.
What a
What a nation is.
nation is. Yeah, it's a again the same thing in a
It is a
collective,
human
in a mass.
construct.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
believe
absolutely.
that this line is dividing this. It
Absolutely,
is
I
a
agree.
reality that we share, and we are united by this.
Correct. I agree. I agree.
If
Yes.
that those shared realities do not exist,
Right.
human beings would not exist, and we would not have advanced until now. And this, who realized? Kings realized this. The head and all those people of those communities realize these things, that we need to have these realities or stories or fiction that is like has to come in, right? Dystopian era, that this Messiah will come. We are into this dystopian 5,000 years back. There was this good and all those things. I think people do that.
Right.
Because they want to feel good. They want to have to live into those, shared realities. It is entirely why people do this. Like
Right.
in all the religions, you'll see there will be a Messiah that will come and he will save the world.
Right.
Just people hate their realities and they hate their present. They want to live into the past or in the future. Right? So this is this subtle concept also. We do not realize this.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I'm not saying it's wrong. It could be true, obviously. Right? Saying it's wrong. But yeah, this is also it. So that is why I do not believe stuff. Okay. I listen to it, I understand it, and I leave it at that. Right?
Okay.
As soon as you start forming belief, you basically block all the path, to different things. Okay. You are restricting your mind as soon as you start believing anything. Understand it's a good thing and everything. It exists. I understand it. It's all good. If you start believing something, you're restricting your mind. That is what I like to believe.
Okay, and this is so cool because like now I have two questions. I'll ask both together. You can ask one by one because I otherwise I'll forget. The first thing is when you say anything that happens to you, you just say that okay, you don't literally form the belief, right? So how do you, because this is so good, otherwise we start concluding something, we go on judgment and all this thing. So how do you save yourself from not concluding or not start believing as it is?
Okay. So I try to empathize with situations, right? That could be a political point, religious point, scientific point, anything in life, right? Whether this phone exists or not, do I need to believe it, or is it there and is it good? There are two things, right? If I believe it, and let's say tomorrow I learn that I'm a nation, I learned that okay, my entire reality was false. I'm just giving a very simple example, and many people would not relate to it. But this is there and that is good, and I agree that this exists, right? Do I need to believe that? Do I need to think about it? Right? Those are very different things, and I need to empathize with all the other things that exist, whether I agree to them or not. That is entirely different. Okay, you might have a certain point of view. I would listen to it. I would understand it. Doesn't mean I agree with it or I do not agree with it. That is up to me. Okay, but belief system, I definitely do not like the word belief. When people say, you believe this, you believe that, I do not like the word belief at all. Because belief, we all know what it has done to the world. Millions of people died, millions of things died, and all these things wasted, right? And the most important thing is I'm able to empathize with all the situations and whatever understanding is there, right? Whatever you're saying, I could see from your point of view things. Okay, so that is how I think of the world around me also. Yeah.
But then when we say that okay, I have belief that okay, I can do this, I can do that, right? Because I have done in past, I can do it again. So of course you also have such beliefs, right? So, and beliefs help.
So that is your mind based on that has learned. Okay, so just like in computer science, you have these machine learning models. The system has reinforcement.
Okay, I got your answer.
It learns from that, right? So your mind is also learning like that, right? It is just reinforcement learning, you could think of. Okay, it
Okay.
has learned from that. It does not try to make that mistake. Just like a baby, once it touches the fire, it understands how to not touch it, right? So it's just how our mind operates.
Okay. Okay. And the second question which I want to ask is about some miracles and some accidents happen in the world, right? When I say miracle, of course, some positive things that happen which we have not imagined, right? And some accidents, as in in a negative way. So, don't you think there is some mystery, or there is some, I would not say God, because you have some different concept, but that mystery is helping or intervening in this kind of situation? How do you explain these two things, accidents and miracles?
So the reason behind that is, if there was something interrupting, they would not they would have to interrupt in all kinds of bad things that human beings are doing, right? And I remember, I think Einstein said it, that
I was going to say, yes, I consider everything as miracle or nothing. Yeah, yeah.
And Stephen Hawking said this also: if there is something as a god that exists, he's on a vacation, right? Because
Okay.
if you see all the bad things that are happening to humanity, right? All the things that we are doing to each other, and a whole lot of things that we have seen over a period of time, right? All those wars and everything. People, someone should have intervened if they are watching over you, right? And all those things, right? Now, you could term this as a giant mystery, and we have to reinvent ourselves, understand those all things exist, and those are of entire different concepts. But I do not think so. Mystery and all those things, whenever we think about what is a mystery, when you don't know nothing much about it, when information is not there, we all know that over a period of time, information, it has become abundant in the last 10 years, 15 years only. Yes or no? Before that, everything was getting lost. Today, if something amazing is happening, you take out a phone and record it and send to people all around the world. Now that information can be stored on a server somewhere that will remain for all of its life, right? Before this, there was no such thing as that, right? So mysteries would happen when people would not understand the entire story. Okay, when you do not understand what has happened there and whatever is happening over there, and you have less knowledge about it, it's a mystery. And miracles and those things happening, accidents, it's just the randomness of the universe. If the human being, if the human, tries to make meaning out of it, tries to think of it, his mind will explode literally. And I've explored all the concepts. Either there are two kinds of people that could exist, okay, that could only have satisfaction. Okay, one who believes that there is God and everything is happening according to its will. That person is very satisfied. You always see religious people, they are the most satisfied people just because of that. Whenever they are into spirituality, it gives you a very good construct to think about the world. Then there are people who do not think that there is anything like that. They think that the world is unique, random. They're also not satisfied, by the way. But they had at least have a construct, that they could deny things happening, and they could think, okay, this is all randomness and everything. But they're not satisfied because it doesn't answer their question. Okay? So they could drive into entropy and all those kinds of things if you want to link it to it, but it gives birth to pseudoscience only, right? So that is how things are according to me. There is no such thing as miracle, there is no such thing as accident. Things happen just like that. The universe is increasing in something called entropy, right? The entropy basically means disturbance is basically increasing over a period of time, right? Less organized. Things were organized in the past. Now they are becoming more and more chaotic, and all those things are happening in very simple, deep of it. So that is how just the world is. Okay.
Yeah, but because while you're explaining, I think I have not thought of this so much clearly till now. But while you are explaining, I think we should be either in these two places. Either you should be believing in religion or God totally 100%, right, so that you can live a happy life, or you should believe it totally in science and technology and fully into that. Maybe you cannot get all the answers as you just said, because it is totally different thing. But many people like me, in fact, sometime believe in God and sometime not, as in ki, like kuch achhi cheezein hui to, it's a God's, plan, and if not, then why me, right? So I think that is so simple, but I think that is so powerful thing, right? Either you believe totally into this or not. So yeah, I
Even
mean,
even people who do not believe, I've seen people, they just see life as this. It is happening to them. They have certain time to spend here, and they think the time that I'm spending, that should be beautiful, right? Okay. Now diving into philosophy again, right? It's a whole philosophy podcast now today.
in fact, I told you because like but I'm enjoying. I hope you are also enjoying this conversation.
So
Right?
people just enjoy life as it is. They have certain time. They want to live it joyfully, blissfully. They want to enjoy every second of it, and that those kinds of people. Okay, science gives them tools. They answer those questions. They understand it. If they're not able to understand it, they try to understand it. Okay, but they enjoy that, right? People who believe, I'm not saying God does not exist. Again, full disclaimer. This is just something I'm just.
Yeah.
Okay. I still don't know whether they exist or not.
Yeah.
Okay. And if he exists, please do not do anything to me. Do not. So,
Yes.
I was just saying, people who believe it, right? I think they are satisfied because they think, they have this God or hand of God and everything. But when I see that, I think, nah, like, how can you believe something and just give all of your powers and all of your thinking and just be involved in it? I've seen religious people who believe in God, but they also think about other things, right? They have an open mind of all that. I think that is perfect balance I try to find in my life also, right? I did a puja in the morning also, like I told you before the conversation. I had a puja here. I do it, right? Whatever things are there in my religion, if I'm asked to do, I do them, right? So I think on that a lot. Yes. Do I start making conclusions? No, I don't. Okay. But I keep an open mind for all those things, all the concepts that are presented to me. Okay. Because again, I do not want to fall into a belief system.
Okay. And so when people say that, okay, we should surrender it to God, what is the same meaning in if we do not believe in God, in if we believe in the universe and this concept?
It's not the opposite. Like these are not opposite things. First of all,
No,
right?
it's not opposite. Okay, it's not opposite. But what I'm trying to say कि इसको इस टर्म में कैसे understand करें कि
So people who surrender themselves to God, I don't understand why to do that. Okay, it's their life and all those things. But everyone is deciding your fate. No one decides your fate. You have to make it on your own, right? And science people and all those things. I could write down all the laws of the universe on a t-shirt right now, right? And the universe abides by those laws, right? The other laws I'm trying to understand. Scientists are trying to understand, learn more about them. But these laws of universe define how things are formed, who you are, and how things are being. A lot more discoveries have to be made, but that is how things are, right? Those laws of universe describe the world around you. If you're just throwing this mobile phone, it is falling down just because of a particular law. Okay, this electricity, magnetism, all those things. There are laws of universe that determine this. Okay, and I could understand those laws of universe and try to understand the universe and the world around me, and it will give me a perfect or almost perfect answer that I could understand this. Yeah.
So what you're trying to say is that when people like you say that, okay, surrender to God, what that does that mean that, okay, I understand the concepts of science and all these things, and rather than leaving it to some unknown entity as in God, I'm trying to understand how it works actually by just not thinking about it.
Yes, very good thing. So Einstein said this also. A physicist's work is not to understand whether God exists or not. Okay, his work is to understand the laws of nature and how the universe works according to those laws of nature. Right? His work is not to ponder upon whether God exists or not. If he exists, whatever laws he made, a physicist's work is to understand those. Right? Okay. understand what those laws of nature and what those laws of physics are, and how they determine how things happen around us. Okay, provide us certain models out of which we could again, that could be useful to the human race. Right? That is what a physicist should do. And whenever these thoughts come into my mind, I just block them out because I don't want to think about them. Right? I think about them sometime, but not all the time, because I cannot get answers to it. Think about it. It's going down into a rabbit hole out of which you cannot come out. Right? You cannot get any answer to that unless today that OMG happens or God presents himself in front of you and all those things. I will be the luckiest person on earth. But for that also people say that is not, you have to penance for thousands of years, then only that will saying, no, I cannot do that, man. So
okay,
just how things are. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And for, I mean, like, on a funny side, if you believe everything, in science and all, I think you'll have less problem when you go through the breakups, actually, because you will not fall into that,
things happen to you, yes.
Right? You'll analyze it from, biology and chemistry point of view only. That okay.
Bad things also. Like when you think about it, like people, the people who get cancer, right? That is if you think about them, and I know a few people, unfortunately, I've known a few people that have got cancer and everything, right? Friends of friends, everything. Those people are the most affected people in this world. And that is for a particular reason. Think about them. They've got cancer, right? The world has stopped for them, but the world has not stopped for them.
The world has not stopped for
them. The world has stopped for them, but the world has not stopped for them.
Okay.
For them, everything has come to a pause, but the world doesn't care. The world is running forward. The world is moving forward. Everyone is moving forward, but they want to, they realize this. Okay, and they like I said, I try to empathize, right? And I have tried to empathize myself with that situation, right? They realize, okay, I've got this very big thing. It might kill me someday, and I have this limited period of time, and they're on pause. They cannot think about it. They're depressed and they're sad and everything. And they want the world to empathize with them. They want everyone around them and the world to stop just for them. My God, I've got such a big thing in my life. But the world doesn't care. The world keeps moving forward. Even your relatives will keep moving forward. Okay, because everyone has got things to do, right? So if you understand it from their point of view, people, who've got these diseases and everything, right? Think about them and how they try to understand, all those things and how they try to feel it. Okay. So these people, what was the initial question? I just forgot.
No, I mean, I was just cracking a joke whether if a breakup happens, you would exactly. Be the right person.
For these people, okay, concept of God dissolves. I've seen a lot of people when bad things happen to them, they say that if God exists, why did this bad thing happen to me and all those kinds of things. It's sad to see, by the way. If you're believing something and now you think that God doesn't exist and all those kind of things, sometimes God answers their prayers. Like good things also happen to them after that. So it's all randomness. There is this whole theory of randomness that is there, right? There's this entire books and there are entire research papers on randomness of the universe. Okay, and randomness unto itself is a whole subject. Okay, causality, all those things lies inside it. So randomness, you just go inside, that is a whole big rabbit hole, like I told you, it's a whole hole there. But yeah, those people are the most affected by these. Okay? But if you are just a science guy and you think that these things happen because of this, and these things happen, I cannot explain it, but maybe in the next 5,000 years, another human being might be able to explain that. Understand? You have that satisfaction, you can live with that. That is just personally I think of. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah. I mean, like this conversation, actually triggers to think in different way. I would not say one should start believing in science totally or start believing in God 100%. But yes, it's a good trigger to think about what you are doing, why you are doing, and
think is the big word that you should use, because do not believe anything, just think about situations, right? Try to understand them. Okay, it does not mean you should start saying this and that about God and all those concepts and your religion, whatever you are, right? Even if you are, you could just remain there. You could understand them, understand that as a concept, abide by it, right? If you read the Gita, like in our religion, right? Gita, it's the best philosophical book that is, right? It is always there on my table because whenever even I need guidance in my life, I have Gita. I have other philosophy books also, right? From Kant, from Nietzsche, from Dostoevsky, right? Whenever I want, I go there, right? For guidance. It is always there for you. It is laid out. Use that, right? But do not get dissolved into it and have a blurry figure of reality. You understand what I'm saying, right? And because of if that is there, that is a good thing. People twist these concepts and they can use it against you, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
These things, people could twist it and use it against you, right?
Right.
But I'm talking about the concept of God. It is being twisted and it is used against us. This against that, this against this, you are not, you versus me. That is the problem, I think, for everyone.
Right. And probably my last question, Prayag, knowing all these things, how it has helped you in accepting people? So is it that when some adverse situation happens in your life, especially in terms of relationship, let's say, so
I've had my fair share of breakups, yes.
sorry
I've had my fair share of breakups, yes.
Okay. So how do you understand it from this point of view, or is probably just a random questions that I thought ask you, because if I think because this knowledge should help people, right? Knowing all this thing, so I'm asking, like do you start understanding, or looking at the people from this point of view that okay, this is the biology and this is the chemistry inside us, and that has helped, that has made that person to think and behave in such a way, so this happened, right?
Yeah, good question. So there's something I call psychology also, right? That is big science and people try to understand it. I've studied, I've took a course in psychology, I've understood it, I've tried to understand a lot of things there. So when you think about it, let's say, like I told you, I try to understand things, I try to empathize, right? And whenever you are a science guy, you try to look for patterns, science and computer guy especially, you try to look for patterns immediately, right? Establish things, a theory, hypothesis, and all those things. That is default in my brain personally, right? But let's say I had a fight with someone. Okay, I could sit down and analyze it within 15 minutes in my mind with the clarity. Depends upon what kind of mind you are. It could be 1 hour for you, 2 hours for you, 1 day, 2 days, months for some people, right? My mind is as of now in such a way I could realize it in 1 hour, what things happened, how they happened, what reactions were there from these two people and all those things, right? That I could lay it out as facts and facts. Yes. Then I could think of point of views of very different person. Like I told you, everyone has their entire reality, which is very different from everyone's each reality. 8 billion people, 8 billion realities existing at the same time. It's very hard. That is why you need to have those shared realities so that we could exist with each other, right? But all realities cannot be shared. You believe something, I believe something. We have a conversation. Let's say I got into a fight with someone, right? I could get their point of view, empathize with them. Okay, this is from where they're coming from. Okay, whether they're right or wrong, that is an entirely different concept. I could try to first understand their point of view and what they were trying to understand or tell to me, or what they were trying to mean. And I could understand my point of view. And then you could go for deciding what is right and what is wrong. That totally depends upon what kind of situation you are. But empathizing with things is the most important thing everyone needs to learn in life. Right? Don't empathize with others and then you versus me happens. Religions and politics and all those kinds of things. Right? There is this XYZ political party I believe in, and there is this XYZ political party I hate. Right? Why do people start hating with all those things? Because they're not able to empathize with each other's point of view. Right? I believe in certain stuff, you believe in certain. We can exist in harmony, right? And this is the biggest paradox. When those same people are in train, they will not interact with each other, they will not do anything. But on internet, they will start abusing each other, that okay, your political party is this, your political party is trash, and all those kinds of things. Because in real life, no one cares. In real life, when everyone is busy, they are busy. If you're in a job, you will not care whether your boss believes in what kind of religion and all those.
Yeah.
You don't care for that, right? Because you do not care, right?
Yeah.
And when you start caring, and when you're not able to empathize all those views for you versus me is going to happen, and you're going to enter into a conflict. That is the biggest problem. Try to control yourself, try to control your mind, understand your reality, try to understand other people's things and their point of view. Go on with life. You'll not face any difficulties, at least. Yeah. And how did I gain this? How did I try to gain this clarity, if you can ask me? So put this there or not, this is not an ad or something. I had some obviously psychology books and everyone, but Gita, number one, it gave me number one thing that taught me, these particular points of view. And then there is this Isha Foundation. I don't know whether you've heard about them.
Yeah. Right.
This engineering program changed my life, transformed my life, right? And there you gain a lot of clarity. I took that. It gave me a lot of clarity on life. And then I dived into philosophy and, all those kinds of things, theology and all those things. That is, over a period of time, your brain comes up with these constructs and gives you whatever you want to say. Okay?
Right. Cool. I'm so happy, Prayag, to know that at very young age you have this knowledge of science. You are interested in that. At the same time, you are challenging yourself with this belief system and the concept of God and universe, everything. So it's good to have this kind of a life where you introspect a lot, right, and learn and explore. So you're doing good, Prayag, and thank you so much for this conversation. I would conclude this as part 1, because of course on your topic we are yet to discuss on the rabbit hole and so many different things. The planets are still pending to be discussed. So but yes, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I learned a lot from you, and thank you so much, and God bless you, Prayag. So thank you. Yes, thank you, Prayag. Thank you for your time. Yeah. Bye.